Story 1. This woman complained that her Guinness was flat and how she, as a proud Irish woman, was offended by this atrocity. She went ballistic when I said she couldn't be that proud if she was happily drinking Guinness from a can all night and didn't realize. Story 2. My family and I were flying to Australia for holiday, and my little brother was wearing a shirt with a snake on it. When we got through passport control, a middle-aged Australian lady who worked there demanded my mom that she had to turn my little brother's shirt inside out because the cartoon snake on it might scare the elderly. Story 3. I was a teenager working at a grocery store register when a woman started yelling at me. She demanded to know why the only soda machine we had near the entrance of the store only featured our generic grocery store brand and not Coke. I pointed out that we did offer individual bottles at the register, but she insisted that was too far from the entrance. Story 4. I was on the bus with a broken leg and a cast. I was sitting in the designated handicap spot. This older woman gets on the bus, looks at me and says, "Get up." I say I have a broken leg and she didn't seem to care. She insisted I get up to the point where she told the driver and threw a fit. I will also add that she looked perfectly fine. Walked normally, didn't seem to have any issues standing. While I'm speculating, I have a clear sign that standing wasn't a legitimate option for me. Someone put her in her place and she ended up standing. Story 5. I used to work at an Italian restaurant and was once scolded by a red-blooded Karen for not pronouncing bruschetta with the right roll on the R. When my husband and I spend money on a nice Italian dinner, then we also expect it to be the same experience as when we visit Italy ourselves. My offended costumer straight up slammed those words at me, whereafter she made me rehearse the correct pronunciation with her as the teacher. Story 6. It was 7-Eleven, free Slurpee day at 7-Eleven. I was just standing in line, buying a soda or something I don't remember. I can hear the conversation at the front of the line. The guy at the register is calmly explaining to this lady that their Slurpee machine is out of order and they can't get someone to come fix it till the next day, but there is another location just down the road and their machine might be working. She was having none of it and started to scream and curse at this guy for what felt like hours about how they owed her a free Slurpee, that he just didn't want to give her one because she was black, and so on. She finally left and I looked at the cashier who I'd run into at concerts before and had grown kind of friendly with and said, "So, having fun?" He took a deep breath to calm himself down and half whispered, "Over a fucking Slurpee." We then proceeded to talk shit about her for a minute, we being myself, the cashier, and the guy in line behind me who also witnessed the whole event. Story 7. I grew up with a blonde woman who would regularly make an annoyed sigh if she saw a cashier ask for help from a manager. Heaven forbid people be new to a computer program, oh queen, of having to have me explain to her how to cut and paste or how to shut down a computer without the power button. And she was just rude in general sometimes if a service worker was having an awkward time. She's a TSA now and gotten her comeuppance tenfold, I promise you. As for my personal encounters, I did some Walmart and some McDonald's when I was younger. There was a guy that deliberately would go to the deli after they closed down and would demand a manager make them open back up for him, and his favorite time was when he saw a new person who wouldn't recognize him. Then there's Roger, husband of one of the higher-up managers, who enjoyed bragging to the workers that his wife was so high above them when he'd call to report that he had to wait 2 minutes in a busy drive-thru. Fuck you, Roger. Story 8. Was working at the counter where the customer has to sign off the receipt before I can release the package. Usually when I present the receipt, I would include a pen as well, just in case they don't have one. So this one time after a Karen has signed for the receipt, she was taking the pen with her. This was the conversation. Me: "Hi ma'am, may I have my pen back please?" Karen: "No, this is actually my pen." Me: I just gave you this pen along with the receipt." Karen: "No, I got this pen from my purse." Proceed to search her purse and couldn't find any pen. At this point, I'm not going to argue with her for a pen that cost less than a $1. Me: "It's okay, you can keep that pen." Opened the drawer and pulled a new pen from the box. Karen: "See, there's your pen." Me: "No ma'am, I've just pulled out a new pen from the box." Bring out the box and shake it beside my face. She finally left at a cost of a pen. Good riddance. Story 9. I'm a librarian and I was helping a lady use a computer. My boss walked by and asked me a quick question while I was observing the woman do something on the computer. And when I turned a bit to face him, my shoulder moved a couple of inches closer to the woman, not touching her, but going a bit more into her bubble. When I turned back, she chewed me out for being in her space. "What is wrong with you? Ugh, I can't believe you got in my personal space." Another Karen at the library blew up at me because she printed 100 pages before realizing they were printing incorrectly due to her selecting the wrong option on the computer. I explained, that our terms of use say the user is responsible for those errors, so we couldn't refund her. She was fine with that, but kept griping and asking what we were going to do about it. She wouldn't let me respond and went on and on. When I finally got to speak, I sincerely asked, "How would you like me to fix this for you? How can I help make this right?" She stared at me, then yelled, "You don't want to help me at all," and stomped off. In a non-library setting, one time my car broke down in a parking lot. I put on my hazard lights and there was enough room to go around me. Some woman in an SUV drove up right behind me and honked. I shrugged helplessly and waved her around. When she finally drove around, she rolled her window down, stuck her head and shoulders out, and screamed, "You stupid bitch!" at me. She didn't look like the person who'd do that, and she even had alumni stickers on her SUV from the same university I attended. It was so surreal. This was probably 15 years before Karen was a thing. Story 10. I'd say it was one time where a Karen and her toddler child decided to trespass on my property to play with my pet goat. She squawked at me over having an evil goat that needed to be put down. Basically, what you'd think would happen with a goat happened. Toddler tried to play, and my goat headbutted him. All he had from it was a scuffed lip. Had to call the sheriff to get Karen to leave. Sheriff absolutely wasn't having any of it. He told her that she doesn't need to be trespassing and letting her kid play with strange animals, because what if someone had a guard dog? Story 11. We had 2 very severe snowstorms within 24 hours, resulting in about 3 feet of snow. The city wasn't able to clear it, so a bunch of the neighbors got their shovels and decided to do it ourselves. This lady comes out screaming at us for clearing the street and putting a mound of snow on her property. It had to go somewhere. We were even clearing her driveway for her where it was the sidewalk. She was crazy unfriendly, though. My first interaction with her was when her dogs got out and I rounded them up, read their tags, and knocked on her door with them. I said, "Found your dogs wandering the neighborhood," and she just grabbed them and slammed the door in my face. No thank you or anything. Story 12. I was behind this Karen in line at a Quiznos. She ordered a turkey sandwich and told them to put more turkey on it because the amount they put on wasn't enough. Then when she got to the checkout and they charged her extra for the extra turkey, she went ballistic. She demanded she not be charged extra because she didn't say she wanted extra. She said they didn't put enough on, even though it's a pre-measured amount so that they put the same amount on every sandwich. She held up the entire line for like 10 minutes in the middle of lunch rush while she screamed at every employee in the store. And then when her temper tantrum finally paid off and they didn't charge her like $2, she stormed off and got into her late model Mercedes. Story 13. Back in my retail days, I encountered probably the worst customer I had to deal with. Never mind being a Karen on top of that. Anyway, before coming to my till, Karen stops by this small rack of kids' bath puppets on the wall. She tries to get one off with so much force that she ends up knocking the entire thing off the wall. She then says loudly to her kids about me, she can clear it up. So this lovely lady comes up and notices a few beach bags behind me and asks if she can have one. I oblige and do so, but as I grab one, I hear her say to her kids, "I think we should go to another till." I was just doing what she says, but okay. While I'm reluctantly packing her stuff, I hear her start making degrading comments about me to her kids. Stuff like how I was crap at my job and such. She then tells me that she didn't want the bag she originally picked up, preferring the one she asked me to get for her. Luckily, I hadn't scanned her original bag yet, so I innocently say to her, "Okay, I'll put this back," to which she goes, "I've told you 3 times that I don't want it." Ignoring this, I take the bag away and put it down by my feet, just so I could put it back on the floor later. Suddenly, she starts accusing me of scanning it, takes her stuff and goes to another colleague, forgetting her new bag in the process. I was so upset and shaken by the incident that I ended up slamming the bag on my colleague's counter. Karen then had the audacity to call me rude, to which I simply retaliated and said she was the one being very rude to me. After that, she said she'd complain about me, but weirdly enough, she never did. I get that it was wrong for me to slam the bag on the counter like that, but I'd never felt so bullied and degraded by a customer in my life. It was worse that she had kids, who just stood and watched the whole commotion, as it'll very likely influence them to behave the same way when they're older. Thank God I don't work in retail anymore. Never going back. Story 14. My worst Karen encounter happened while I was shopping at a grocery store. I was wearing a t-shirt and jeans, which in no way resembled the red shirts and khaki pants uniform actual store employees rocked. But I was young and not in a hurry, so when some lady asked me where something or other was, I looked at the handy-dandy thing on the cart that lists common purchases and the aisle number. I said, "I don't work here, but it looks like that's in aisle whatever," as I pointed to the thing that told me that. She went away. I continued shopping, and she tracked me down to tell me she couldn't find it. I told her I didn't work there while gesturing in the general direction of my cart, and I wasn't going to interrupt my shopping to scour the aisle with her. She huffed off, and I continued shopping, only to have the lady and the store manager appear a few minutes later. I can hear her bitching about the horrible employee that needs to be fired on the spot for rude and unhelpful behavior, and now I'm lying about not working at the store, which is stupid because I helped her earlier, but refused service when it required a little walking, as they walk toward me. She stops in front of me, smirking, because she thinks she just got me fired. And the manager, of course, realizes the problem. He's never met me before, I'm not dressed like an employee, and oh yeah, I've got a shopping cart full of groceries just like every other customer in the store. Guy half apologized to me and hurried her over to the aisle to find whatever for her. Lesson learned. Don't try to help random people who mistake you for an employee. Story 15. My wife is a Karen. It wears me out. If she has to stand in line at a store for more than 5 minutes, she will bitch the whole drive home. Last week at Target, the cashier had a short conversation with the person in front of us after she gave the customer the change. My wife told her she did not think she should visit when people are waiting, driving. Everyone going faster than her is a wild, reckless driver, and if you drive slower, you need to get the fuck off the road. I usually try and gently call her out on it, but that gets me bitched at LOL. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the video on screen and don't forget to like and subscribe for more daily Reddit stories. See you in the next one.